지금부터 오후 기조 강연에 들어가겠습니다. 사와다 야수유키 아시아개발은행 수석이코노미스트와 캐시조 마틴 미국 보스턴대학교 정치학 교수님께서 오후 기조 강연 문을 활짝 열어주실 텐데요. 포용 성장 그리고 사회 투자라는 서로 다른 접근법으로 더 균등한 사회를 만드는 길을 제시해 주신다고 합니다. 네, 먼저 아시아개발은행 수석이코노미스트 사와다 야수유키님께서 고장난 엘리베이터 고치기라는 주제로 강연을 해 주시겠습니다. 사와다 야수유키님을 큰 박수로 무대로 모시겠습니다.
안녕하세요. Thank you very much for warm introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and pleasure to have this opportunity to speak for the 9th Asia Future Forum. I'd like to extend my cordial gratitude to the host, Hangyorae Media Group and Hangyorae Economic and Social Research Institute. I'm Yasu Sawada, Chief Economist of Asian Development Bank. By the way, my nickname is Yasu the Beast in Korean, but I hope I'm not look like a beast. I'd like to discuss the poverty and inequality trend in Asia and the role of governments to tackle issue of broken elevator of social mobility in Asia. So here's the outline of my talk. I'm going to talk about three issues. Number one, overall poverty and inequality trend in Asia. Secondly, some detailed discussion of inequality in Asia, especially on impact of fourth industrial revolution or arrival of new innovation technologies as human capital and spatial inequality, well-being of elderly in China, Korea, and Japan. And finally, I'd like to discuss the role of the government. So this is the menu. So let me start my talk by postulating some conceptual framework. In order to capture inequality in Asia, we can adapt different variables which characterize overall income or consumption distribution. First, we should note overall inequality in Asia can be subdivided into two parts: within country inequality, within Korea inequality, and secondly, across country inequality, income gap between Korea and other lagging behind nations. The former component can be illustrated by using this example of the Philippines. This figure shows per capita monthly income distribution or density function of the Philippines based on Family Income Expenditure Survey 2003, which is a national household survey data. The shape of the income distribution can be captured by four different indicators. First, it's a black part in the left end, which is the incidence of poverty, proportion of people whose income or consumption below poverty line. And now Sustainable Development Goal use the $1.9 per person per day as a poverty line. So proportion of people below this international poverty line is first measure we can utilize. Part B, shown in the blue in the middle, which is a proportion of middle income class in percentage. Defined, for example, a proportion of people whose income falls between $10 per day up to $100 per day. So this is the one measure capturing a middle part. And part C, shown in green parts, the top part, is a top income share in percentage, popularized by our keynote speaker, Professor Thomas Piketty's World Top Income Database. And finally, red shows the overall inequality or variation captured by Gini coefficient or standard deviation of income or expenditure. In order to capture the second component, cross-country inequality, we can examine variations of cross-country per capita income, which for the case of the Philippines is shown by the yellow line, vertical middle yellow line, which is the average value overall income distribution function. And the yellow part E, shows the per capita income. As for the first measure, the left-hand measure, incidence of poverty, there has been significant reduction in poverty incidence in all sub-regions in Asia, which can be seen from this figure. From 1981 to year 2015, poverty incidence fell really dramatically, especially in East Asia. Initially, 88% poverty in year 1981, reduced down to 0.7%, really dramatic drop in left-hand poverty. What about the middle-income population? Proportion middle-income people in Asia out of the global middle-income class population increased from 28% residing in Asia in year 2009, now almost 50% in latest year. Asian share is expected to increase up to 65% in year 2013. So globally, majority of middle-income people now residing in Asia. So this is a substantial emergence of middle-income people in Asia. Vast majority, almost 90% of the next billion entrants into the global middle-income class will be in Asia. Almost 400 million Indians, 350 million Chinese, and 200 or so million other Asians becoming a middle-income people. What about the top share, top 10% richest? The three most populous countries in Asia, the People's Republic of China, India, Indonesia, and other major economies shown here, household income share by the richest 10% of the population increased from 1990 to year 2017. So we have a universal top income share increase in developing Asian region. On average, share increased from 26% to almost 30% during the same period from 1990 up until 2017. This is consistent with Professor Thomas Piketty's views on inequality. During the past few decades, more and more income has been accumulating at the top group, even in rapidly growing Asia. What about overall inequality? In major economies in Asia, Gini coefficient, which captures inequalities, increased from 38 in year 1990 to 45 in 2010, last 1 decade or so. So we see income inequality or variation of this income distribution has increased in overall Asia. This figure shows a relationship between initial per capita GDP in horizontal axis, x-axis, taken from 1980, and growth rate for 3 decades taken on the vertical axis or y-axis. While we have 4 tigers, including Korea, these 4 tigers taken the growth development trajectory of Japan, converging to high-income economies in this right end part of this triangle shape. However, there are a group of countries stuck in the middle income. Rather than converging to the high income right end, some countries reach in the middle end, so including Malaysia and Thailand. This is so-called the middle income trap. Looking at the economic growth performance of different countries, rapid growth lifted most countries in Asia from low to middle income. So overall middle income status countries are enjoying in Asia. Question now is how a large middle income region can build on its past success and then join high income. This is an important challenge in overall income equalization in Asia and Pacific region. So let me wrap up first part. In sum, inequality in Asia can be illustrated by, again, case of Philippines from 1988, shown in this red line, red distribution curve, to 2015, shown in, a blue distribution curve is the one for year 1988, and the red distribution curve is for year 2012. As we can see, whole distribution, income distribution, shifted towards a more high income level. So naturally, within country inequality, the left end, proportion poor decline because whole distribution moving towards a higher income. And also in the middle range, middle part, middle income class proportion increase. But at the same time, we observe right end, the top income became much slightly richer. So overall top income share also increased. And then overall distribution, as we can see, overall distribution became much flatter. So Gini coefficient increased overall. So as for the across country inequality, average income level, as I said, the whole distribution moved towards higher income, so average income also increased. So convergence of Asian economy to the high income we observe. This transformation happening in Asia was something like the distribution curve was pulled from the right end. Okay, so that whole distribution moved towards the higher income, but at the same time became wider, and also top income became thicker. So this is the overall summary what happened in Asia in last couple of decades. As a result, where absolute poverty declined and average income increased, but income distribution in Asia became more unequal. So this is a crude representation of the, for example, elephant figure shown by Professor Thomas Piketty, the figure constructed by Dr. Branko Milanovic. So next question is why we should care about inequality. Why inequality matters. Rising inequality basically dampens the poverty reduction impact of economic growth. In developing Asia, if inequality has remained stable in the economies where it increased, same growth would have lifted additional more than 160 million people out of extreme poverty. So this is the one reason why we need to care about inequality. Not only does rising inequality dampen the poverty reduction impact of growth, it can also affect growth itself. Because inequality leads to misallocation of human capital investments, creating intergenerational inequality, low education parents generate low household income, leading to, in turn, low education of next generation. So this perpetuation of poverty and inequality, that's another reason. Moreover, inequality can damage social cohesion, leading to social conflicts and discourage forward-looking investments. Also, as earlier presentation, Professor Wilkinson showed, health would be also damaged. Finally, inequality can also cause political backlash. Public pressure to enact populist policies may benefit the poor in short run, but holding back efficient and growth in long term. Then next question is, what's the underlying mechanism behind the rising inequality, not only Asia, but global scale? Inequality has been increasing, not only Asia, but also around the globe. Why? As Professor Piketty said, we need some kind of a new multidimensional inequality argument. And basic message emerging from our own analysis based at ADB is technological progress, globalization, and market-oriented reform have led to a rapid growth, but at the same time, leading to better growth and widen the enormous opportunity and benefits to many countries. But at the same time, this new environment have not been equally shared by the entire population and widening inequality. Overall, these driving forces of growth working together have favored capital over labor, skilled labor over unskilled workers, and cities, coastal regions over rural and inland areas. This is also related to inequality of broader opportunities across education as well as space. In addition, population aging ongoing in Asia, especially in East Asia, could be a further cause of rising inequality. In general, older cohorts have a more unequal income distribution than younger cohorts, and therefore, aging, which is defined by increasing proportion of the elders, could increase overall inequality. This is relevant for Asian countries and encountering rapidly progressing aging. And actually, this is this argument, the final aging part is based on few years ago, the Professor Angus Deaton's series of work, who won a Nobel Economics Prize few years ago. So let me explain the first top listed reason, arrival of new technology as an underlying mechanism behind the expansion of inequality. This advent of the fourth industrial revolution, or in short 4IR, has heightened automation anxiety. It is underpinned by more sophisticated robots and computing capacity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., etc. As a result, more tasks typically conducted by humans are being automated. However, job displacement by new technologies have always been accompanied by high productivity, emergence of new occupations, and better paid jobs, as well as work opportunities have not diminished. While there is a really serious growing concern that new technology could lead to widespread job losses and the expansion of inequality, there are compelling reasons to remain optimistic about developing Asia's job prospect. So based on our ADB's flagship report called Asian Development Outlook 2018, published earlier this year, we had a thematic analysis on impact of technology on jobs. And according to this, our special report and data work and technical work, there are 4 reasons for our optimism about Asian consequences of Asian technology. Number 1, new technologies often automate only some type of job, not all the job. Secondly, technical feasibility does not necessarily guarantee economic feasibility. So for example, arrival of a fully automated sewing robot without any human inputs, now robot can make T-shirts. Okay? However, cost of producing T-shirts using a sewing robot is much more expensive than very capable, very young workers in garment apparel industry in Bangladesh, for example. So technical feasibility does not necessarily guarantee always economic feasibility. Number 3, rising income and demand arising from the better production achieved by productivity improvements, and also because of this income expansion, demand expansion, now much more labor are absorbed. Finally, new occupation industry always emerge with new technology. So because of these 4 reasons, we can be more optimistic in Asia. However, heterogeneity is always there. So let me explain. New technology often automate only some tasks of a job, not the whole job. Any job consists of a number of different tasks, and the tasks can be classified as either routine or non-routine, as shown in the vertical direction, and the degree of routineness is taken in the vertical x-axis, and either another side is either manual task or cognitive task, shown in the horizontal axis. Automation targets many routine tasks, such as soldering components on the circuit board repeatedly in assembly line. These tasks can be really involving a high risk of displacement by robot. With this framework, we can make following 4 different classification and inferences. Workers in occupation in fourth quadrant, left down, which is the cognitive type of task and also a non-routine type of task. Examples include researchers like me and also company managers. These people are safe because a majority of their tasks are difficult to automate, and rather new technology augments value of their labor. In contrast, workers in quadrants top left and top right, these people are facing a highest risk of displacement. So cognitive but routine type of task, and also a manual and also routine type of task, these can be relatively easily displaced by automation and robots. So this is the standard classification when we talk about impact of technology on labor market. So based on our data work, in fact, throughout Asia and also the world, demand for jobs that require non-routine and cognitive tasks, bottom left, quadrant 4, like researchers and company managers, wages have grown, demand has grown faster than jobs requiring routine and manual tasks. Detailed analysis of selected Asian economies shows over the past decade, wages have also grown faster in quadrant 4, non-routine cognitive type of job. As we can see from the chart, average monthly real wages for non-routine cognitive jobs shown in blue bar chart. That's a wage rate increase in last 10 years for the non-routine and the cognitive type of task. Wage rate increase much faster than other type of job, including a routine and non-cognitive type of job. So this has been and will be creating continued income inequality. So that's why we concern arrival of new technology can widen income inequality and perpetuate income inequality. As Professor Piketty illustrated, education inequality can also account for total inequality in Asia. Let me look at the inequality from opportunity side, which is human capital investment shown here, and also across space, urban-rural gap. In decomposing overall income inequality, differences in education attainment can explain a large proportion of inequality, and that has been increased in all the countries during the period looked at, with the increase most significant in People's Republic of China. Since skills, education, and technology are complementary, this decomposition result also endorse impact of technology impacts generating overall inequality through affecting different type of people with heterogeneous human capital. As Professor Piketty also stated, end of egalitarian education platform, this seems to be a major concern, not only in Asia, but also global level. Another side of opportunity is spatial or urban-rural inequality. So rural setting and urban setting, socio-economic, broader enabling environment is quite different. So this is a source of opportunity inequality. And so we decompose overall inequality into rural-urban inequality. Combined contribution of rural-urban and interprovincial differences to total inequality ranges from different countries. Lowest in Sri Lanka, 13%, can explain by a spatial rural-urban inequality, up to a Chinese case, more than half of overall inequality can be explained by rural-urban gap. So since urban sectors are affected by new technology more intensively than rural sectors, this decomposition result also shows substantial technological impact. These figures indicates importance of social mobility, which was pointed in morning sessions. So now let me move on to the third decisive factor of overall inequalization of Asian income, which is aging. So let me introduce a cross-country study by Professor Albert Park, who is a Korean-American and economist based in University of Hong Kong Science and Technology. And this is a study, so Albert Park is a lead author. This is a study done by 6 co-authors on China, 2 persons engaged in a Chinese analysis, and another 2 working on Korea, and final 2 people, including myself, working on Japan. So this is the comparison of China, Korea, and Japan. So not to mention, throughout Asia, aging is rapidly progressing, especially in East Asia, particularly Japan, Korea, and People's Republic of China. And this shows the proportion of age above 65 years old. So we see a really rapidly increasing proportion of elderly people. Korea is one of the fastest aging society, and also notable feature of Korea's super aging is shown here. Korea is put in a red circle. Korea is characterized by a very high poverty rate among the elderly people. This cross-country comparison also highlights disproportionately high level of old age poverty rate in Korea. Old age poverty in Korea is driven by, largely speaking, 3 elements. Number 1 is limited self-support. Effectiveness of support largely depends on income level. Secondly, rather weakened family support relative to advanced economies and Latin America. Family support or private transfer still plays a substantial role in old age support in many Asian countries. However, family support to elderly, especially in Korea, is being eroded due to urbanization, industrialization, as well as social and cultural changes. From this figure, especially left end, we can see that poverty is prevalent among elderly people living alone in Korea. Third element behind the poverty of Korean elderly is that still insufficient public support. National pension scheme and public social spending play critical role. In general, most striking about developing Asia's old age support is a low level of reliance on public transfers. Public transfers play a noticeably larger role in Europe, US, and Latin America. This suggests the government will have to play a greater role in economic security of elderly in the coming years, especially because family support is eroding. Poverty can create a devastating outcome, and suicide is an ultimate consequence of extreme poverty. Elderly suicide in China, Korea, and Japan are disproportionately high, especially above 70 years old suicide rate is the highest in Korea. Probably this is one substantial example of Professor Wilkinson's accurate view of inequality elaborated by Professor. And that in order to capture suicidal risk, we can capture depression because depression is one major factor that predicts suicide. Again, I'd like to note that Professor Wilkinson also highlighted mental illness is more common in more unequal societies. In order to investigate determinants behind the depression, we can utilize amazingly detailed individual panel data from 3 countries, China, Japan, and Korea. Charles panel data in China, J-star panel data in Japan, and Closer panel data in Korea. These data sets are biannual multi-purpose panel surveys covering elders and nested into the global aging and health and retirement surveys related survey series. And HRS, Health and Retirement Survey, is a celebrated panel data from the United States. While around half of elders continue to work equally in these 3 countries, by the way, in this figure, blue bar shows China, orange is Korea, and gray in Japan. Around half elders continue to work equally in these 3 countries. Left end shows the equal labor participation of elderlies. There is a clear poverty ranking, second cluster from the left. Poverty rate is highest in China, followed by Korea, and poverty rate is lowest in Japan. Also, public support is quite different between Korea versus, public support is quite different between Japan versus Korea and China. Well-being also have a clear ranking among these 3 countries. Depression level is highest in China, followed by Korea, and lowest in Japan. Again, we can see correlation between psychosocial outcome measured by depression and the degree of inequality. So using this data and in-depth analysis based on so-called regression analysis, there are 3 key findings. First, age profile of depression is quite different, as can be seen from these 2 figures. Overall depression level in China is the highest and the lowest in Japan. Korea is located in the middle between China and Japan, but the elders in Korea seems to show very high level of depression. Secondly, education, marital status, labor participation, family support, and social participation seems to reduce depression and enhance well-being. And third finding is economic status, or simply income, matters for depression in China and Korea, but not in Japan. This also suggests importance of decent jobs for elders which provide a continuous income. It's critical for elderly in China and Korea especially to keep working healthy, earn better, and maintain productivity. So let me recap the role of technology in wrapping up my talk by summarizing some policy implication. There are many ways government can handle increasing trend of inequality in the era of fourth industrial revolution. It's useful to categorize this interaction into the three broad groups: government response to technology and its effects, shown in the red part, and its use of technology, orange part, and government support for technological change, shown in the green. First, government should respond to equalization of income distribution by ensuring workers, including elders, are protected from downside of new technologies and able to harness the new opportunities they provide. This will require coordinated action in skill development, labor regulation, social protection, including viable pension system and income redistribution policies, such as a progressive tax and also a broader tax reform. Secondly, as a user of technology, government can also improve its efficiency and effectiveness by utilizing new technology to improve delivery of public goods and services and to improve governance and compliance. Finally, government can support technological progress by facilitating adequate investment in supporting infrastructure, ensuring antitrust and consumer protection or broader fair competition policies, and providing an enabling environment for innovation and technology adaptation so that the broader fiscal space and country space for better equal society can be materialized. So this is the final slide. Let me wrap up my presentation by reiterating three remarks. First, Asian Pacific region has achieved substantial poverty reduction, but rising inequality is one of the major challenges. Second, rising inequalities are driven by technological progress, globalization, market deregulation, and also inequality in opportunities through education and geographical inequalities. And aging population is also a contributing factor. Therefore, not to mention, governments in Asian region will play a key role in tackling these challenges of rising inequalities. With that, I think social science, as Professor Piketty briefly touched upon towards the end, social science can help government policy identification through providing better evidence and better evidence policy making process. With that, I'd like to stop here. Thank you very much for your listening.
So very extremely grateful for putting things, especially the issue of inequality, into perspective from the whole of Asia. 네, 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.